Gar Saxon was one of Maul's chief lieutenants in the Shadow Collective, who was also an incredibly capable warrior. However, as we know, when the time of the Empire was nigh, he started to act as the Imperial Viceroy for the world. But how did this happen, and why was he put in this position? Now, just as a heads up, there will be some potential spoilers for Star Wars The Clone Wars Season 7. Now, there's nothing major, as everything that we are going to be discussing is technically already known lore, but if you do want it to be a surprise, then maybe come back here a week or so after it's come out, so, you don't get anything ruined for you. But without any further ado, let's continue and get into it. Now, on the outside, Saxon doesn't really appear to be an obvious choice to elect as Viceroy for the Empire. He was close to Maul, serving as his faithful lieutenant in battle. Hell, he was actually one of the operatives who broke him out of Sidious's prison. Not only this, but by all accounts, he's a terrorist, responsible for supporting Maul's attack on the world and bringing war to the streets of Mandalore. He's also personally responsible for the deaths of countless clone troopers. Despite this, Sidious promotes him to represent the Empire on the world and run it in his stead. And I think I've come up with a pretty good idea to why exactly this is. In episode 10 of the Clone Wars, we see Saxon's final stand for Maul, a glorious battle. However, the Republic ends up getting the upper hand and Maul betrays him, leaving him to die with his men. This leads to him being captured and at the mercy of the Republic. Now, as we know, shortly after this, Order 66 is going to happen, and the Republic, or newly formed Empire, will take control, which will lead to Bo-Katan, her Night Owls, as well as Ahsoka having to flee for their lives. Now, as we know, Sidious's rise to Emperor was not seamless by all means. He had to subjugate countless worlds using his clone armies. And the other half of the 501st that's now on Mandalore was amongst the best troops in the galaxy, or should I say now Empire. Sidious does not want to have to keep them stationed here babysitting the Mandalorians. It also wasn't really an option. The Mandalorians had already shown to be dangerous, and they very clearly resented foreign intervention on their world. So clones were a very ineffective way of keeping the peace there. At the end of the day, what Sidious needed was a puppet, somebody who could toe the Imperial line whilst keeping the Mandalorians in check. Needless to say, having another Mandalorian splinter group like the Death Watch around was not what Sidious wanted. So enter Gar Saxon. Saxon was strong-willed, however he'd shown himself to be the ideal henchman in a way. He wasn't nationalistic like Bo-Katan, who believed that only Mandalorians could rule Mandalore. He was also happy to let Maul rule at the end of the day, and I think we can all agree that's probably pretty accepting. At the end of the day, Saxon was someone who believed in one thing, and that's strength. Only the strong could rule Mandalore, and the Empire was by far the strongest entity in the entire galaxy. Now, don't get me wrong, it's not like Saxon will have had much of a choice in the matter. It was probably more of a serve the Empire or die. But at this point, Saxon didn't actually have any loyalties. Maul had betrayed him, and the position of ruling Mandalore, making it strong under the Empire, that's definitely something that Saxon could get behind. And this is important to understand. In my opinion, Saxon was the ideal person to give control of Mandalore to. He was strong enough to keep the Mandalorians in line, so they didn't cause problems for the Empire. This in turn allowed Sidious to remove his clones and direct them to more important battles across the galaxy. And I think that Sidious was pretty confident that Saxon was never going to betray him. He was very loyal. Realistically, when we look at what a Mandalorian is, particularly in Legends, he is one of the most Mandalorians in the series. His ultimate goal is strength and unity under a strong leader. And that's not something that Mandalorians during the Clone Wars were really all about. I mean, after the Death Watch splintered, that showed that it wasn't simply uniting behind a strong that was important to them. But what do you guys think? Why do you think Saxon was allowed to rule Mandalore? And do you think this was a wise decision by Sidious? Let me know in the comments below. Thank you for watching, I do hope that you enjoyed. If so, please remember to like, share and sub, as it's really appreciated and it helps the channel grow. Also, don't forget to follow me on Twitter @TheLoreGuy and tick the bell for regular updates. But most importantly, thank you so much for watching. I really do hope that you enjoyed this little video, and I'll see you next time.